There is an unwritten law hammered into us from our very first breath. It appears in fairy tales, in proverbs, in toasts at weddings. Blood is thicker than water. You only get one mother. The family is our fortress, our biological insurance policy against loneliness, and our ultimate sanctuary. We are evolutionarily programmed to reach for our parents, to seek their protection and approval. But what happens to the human psyche when that fortress becomes a prison? When the very people meant to protect you from the dangers of the world become the danger itself? Right now, as you watch this video, millions of people across the globe are living through a private, invisible tragedy. It is a silent epidemic. Adults, accomplished, capable people, are making the most agonizing decision of their lives: to cut ties completely with their parents, siblings, or family of origin. Society calls this family estrangement. To the outside observer, it looks like an act of selfishness, a rebellion of an ungrateful child, or cold-heartedness. Neighbors whisper, "How could he leave his mother?" Or, "She hasn't called her father in years." We are crushed by the cultural taboo. You are obligated to love your family no matter the cost. But if we strip away the moralizing and look behind the closed doors of these homes, we rarely find pettiness. We find chronic pain. We don't see anger. We see a desperate instinct for self-preservation. Why does a person go against their own nature and sever blood ties? Is it an impulsive mistake, or is it the only way to preserve one's sanity? Over the next 18 minutes, we are going to perform an anatomy of a family breakup. We will dissect the mechanics of invisible violence, explore why your nervous system has been screaming "run" for years while you tried to be good, and why for many the block button is not a punishment, but a resuscitation of their own soul. This is the truth about those who chose silence. Let's begin. The most common misconception about estrangement is the belief that something catastrophic must have happened: a fistfight, a crime, an unforgivable betrayal. But clinical statistics tell a different story. Total estrangement almost never begins with an explosion. It begins with erosion. Imagine a stone under a dripping tap, day after day, year after year. Visually, the stone remains the same, but the water slowly carves through the rock until it cracks. In toxic families, this process takes decades. On the outside, there is a facade of well-being: Sunday dinners, summer vacations, smiling faces in group photos. But on the inside, we see what psychologists call cumulative trauma, or death by 1,000 cuts. It isn't a single stab wound. It is thousands of paper cuts. What does this look like in practice? It is criticism disguised as concern. I'm only telling you you've gained weight because I worry about your health. It is gaslighting where your reality is denied. Don't make things up. I never said that. You're just too sensitive. It is the constant erosion of boundaries. Calls at 7 a.m. on your day off. Unsolicited advice that feels like a command. Showing up at your house uninvited because we're family. Individually, these episodes seem trivial. If you complain to a friend, they might say, "So what? Your mom just misses you." But cumulatively, these moments create a radioactive background. You are living in a zone of constant emotional contamination. Your body understands this long before your brain does. Think about your physical reactions. Your stomach ties into a knot when mom or dad flashes on your phone screen. A week before a family holiday, you develop a migraine or insomnia. But after a conversation, you feel drained, as if you've run a marathon, even though you were just sitting there drinking tea. This is a somatic marker. Your limbic system, the ancient part of the brain responsible for safety, reads contact with your family as a threat to your life. You are living in fight or flight mode, even while sitting on the sofa in your childhood home. Estrangement happens not because love has run out, it happens because you have run out of capacity. The human psyche has a breaking point. You cannot absorb blows forever. You cannot swallow resentment eternally and pretend it's vitamins. Leaving isn't a spontaneous decision. It is the moment you realize the cost of the relationship is higher than you can afford to pay. When an adult child finally goes no contact, it often comes as a total shock to the parents. They are genuinely bewildered. You've likely heard these stories. "We just had a small argument about salad at Christmas and he blocked me everywhere." The parents tell this version to the neighbors, who sympathize. What a nightmare. Over a salad. Psychologists call this the phenomenon of the missing reasons. The parents see only the final event. They do not see or refuse to see the context. This is the illusion of the volcano effect. When a volcano erupts, the catastrophe seems sudden to us. But geologists know the lava had been accumulating in the magma chamber for years. Pressure grew millimeter by millimeter. The eruption is not the beginning of the process, it is the finale. Family estrangement works by the same laws of physics. That salad or that sharp remark is not the cause of the breakup. It is simply the trigger. It is the straw that broke the camel's back. In that moment, the adult child realizes, I am not being heard. I have said this 100 times. I have begged. I have cried. I have explained. I have set conditions. Nothing changes. It is a terrifying realization of powerlessness. You understand that dialogue is impossible, that your feelings are just white noise to the other side. The parent says, you left me over nothing. The child screams internally, I left because I endured neglect for 20 years, and I do not have the strength for year 21. Distancing, in this case, is not punishment, and it is not revenge. It is an act of despair. It is a scream that has shifted into ultrasound and becomes silence. But why does the dynamic become so destructive? Because to understand this, we need to look at the architecture of a dysfunctional family. In a healthy family, a child is an individual to be discovered. In a toxic system, a child is a function to be used, like a play with a terrible script roles are assigned before you even learn to speak. And to step out of character is to declare war on the entire cast. Let's look at these masks. You might recognize yourself. First is the golden child, the family's pride, an extension of the parent's ego. Their job is to shine, to win, and to serve as proof that the parents are perfect. Does it seem like they're lucky? No. It is a gilded cage. They are loved not for who they are, but for the function they perform. One step to the left and the love turns to coldness. These children often have no self. They spend their lives trying to guess what others want. Second is the scapegoat, the lightning rod, the one who is blamed for everything. If there is tension in the house, it is taken out on them. Often, this is the most honest and sensitive child. They see the truth. The emperor has no clothes, dad is drinking, mom is cruel, and for this truth, they are punished. Ironically, scapegoats are often the ones who escape because the system pushes them out. Third is the invisible child, or the lost child, the one who learns to blend into the wallpaper. They don't ask for toys, they don't complain, they don't make noise. They survive by becoming as convenient and unnoticed as possible. As adults, they often feel they don't deserve to take up space and are terrified of stating their needs. And perhaps the most tragic role is the parentified child, the one appointed to be the parent to their own parents, the therapist for mom, the protector for dad, the nanny for the siblings. Their childhood is stolen. They grow up with hyper-responsibility and the belief that love is hard labor. This system strives for homeostasis, for balance. The moment you try to drop the role, for example, the scapegoat stops accepting blame, or the rescuer stops fixing mom's problems, the system fights back. You are accused of betrayal, selfishness, mental illness. You've changed. Someone turned you against us. Well, you've become cruel. In reality, you simply stop being a convenient cog in the machine. Often, leaving the family is the only way to stop playing a role and start being yourself. There is another type of trauma that is the hardest to explain because it is invisible. It's not what was done to you, shouting, hitting. It's what didn't happen. Childhood emotional neglect, CEN. Living in a vacuum. It's when you ran home with a scraped knee and were told, stop whining, it's nothing. It's when you shared a dream and the response was an indifferent or a change of subject. It is the absence of an emotional mirror. A child looks at a parent to understand, do I exist? Do I matter? Do my feelings have weight? And if they see emptiness or irritation, they conclude, I am not important. Adults who grew up in such coldness often carry a massive black hole inside. They are successful, independent, but they feel like imposters. They feel that something is deeply wrong with them. And here, the metaphor of the empty well is born. The adult child returns to the parent's house again and again with a bucket, hoping to draw water, love, acceptance, warmth. They think, I've become successful, maybe now dad will be proud. I gave her grandchildren, maybe now mom will soften. You lower the bucket, rattle the chain, pull it up, and it is dry again. There is no water there, and there never was. Not because you are bad at drawing water, but because the well is empty. Parents cannot give you what they do not possess: empathy, warmth, maturity. The tragedy is that we spend decades standing by this well. We leave only when we realize if we stay here one more day, we will die of thirst. Estrangement is the acceptance of a fact: there is no water here. We must find another source. But why? Knowing all this, do we endure for so long? Why do people typically cut ties only in their 30s, 40s, or even 50s? We are held by a powerful psychological glue, trauma bonding, and the cycle of hope. It works like an addiction to a slot machine. If the machine only took your money, you would leave immediately. But sometimes it rings and spits out coins. In toxic relationships, there are glimmers of light, rare moments of warmth, an unexpected gift, a calm evening, and the brain latches onto this. See? They can be normal. Things are getting better. This is intermittent reinforcement, the strongest form of conditioning. You fall in love not with the real parent, but with their potential, with who they could be. Hope becomes your jailer. I just need to explain it better. I just need to be more patient. The departure begins with a change in strategy. First, you try the gray rock method. You become as boring as a pebble on the beach. Monosyllabic answers, no emotions, no details of your personal life. You starve the vampire of energy. If that doesn't help, you move to low contact, to strictly dosed communication, a call once a month, a visit for an hour. This is an attempt to maintain a fragile peace, and only when these boundaries are bulldozed by manipulation does no contact occur. This is an amputation. It is painful, terrifying, and unnatural. But when gangrene is spreading through the body, amputation is the only way to save the life. This decision is not made out of hatred. It is made out of self-love. The world does not prepare us for the aftermath. Everyone thinks, you got rid of the tyrant, you should be happy. And relief does come, the background anxiety disappears, your shoulders drop. But grief follows close behind. A specific, lingering grief that you can't explain to anyone. Psychologist Pauline Boss called this ambiguous loss. The person is physically alive, they walk, breathe, maybe even write nasty things on social media. But for you, they are dead. There is no grave to bring flowers to. There is no ritual of goodbye. People ask, and how is your mom? And you don't know what to say. You are mourning not the real person who caused you pain, but the image. You are burying the hope that you will ever have a loving family. You are mourning the childhood that never happened. It is especially hard during the holidays. Christmas, birthdays, the whole culture screams about family coziness, and you sit in front of an empty chair. Guilt comes in waves, what therapists call the fog. Fear, obligation, guilt. Maybe I exaggerated. They are getting old, Shrey, and this is an emotional relapse. In these moments, it is crucial to remember, you chose this, not because it is easy, but because the alternative was the destruction of your personality. The pain of loss will pass, but the destruction could have been irreversible. But there is good news. The most important news. On the ashes of old expectations, something new begins to grow. Your own life. When the voices of critical parents fade in your head, you begin to hear your own voice. You get to know yourself anew. What do you actually like? What kind of people do you enjoy? How do you want to raise your children? Speaking of children, many who go through estrangement become the best parents. They are cycle breakers. They say this evil ends with me. They stop the transmission of trauma down the lineage, just like stopping falling dominoes. And you discover a magnificent concept: chosen family. It turns out that closeness is not defined by DNA, a shared last name, or history. Closeness is safety, it is trust, it is reciprocity. Your family becomes your friends, partners, mentors, people who see the real you and choose to be with you every day. Ultimately, leaving a toxic family is an act of profound courage. It is a choice for truth over a comfortable lie. For the future, not the past. You have the right to make this choice. You have the right not to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. You have the right to a happiness that you don't have to earn through suffering. If you recognized yourself in this story, know this: you are not broken. You are wounded, but you are healing, and you are definitely not alone. We are a legion, those who chose freedom. Take care of yourself and build the family you always dreamed of, starting with yourself.